things, I mean, the book starts actually with a story about Wigan Athletic, which appealed to me, but I just wondered if you can talk a bit about that, because it was quite an emblematic story about community and what was happening and a sense of powerlessness, and that story took on a real sort of symbolic importance in politics for you.
Yeah, I mean, it changed the way that I think about the world and Britain's place in it, actually, that experience that we went through. We've actually been through it twice now since the book was written, of saving our football club. I have to say, cards on the table, I don't know anything about football. I know a lot more about what goes on behind the scenes now than I did a few years ago. I don't know anything about what goes on the pitch. So just, if there are any football questions, direct them at Anand. We've had a football club in our town for over 100 years. It's incredibly important to us. It's part of our identity. We won the FA Cup in 2013, which was amazing. We beat Man City. We're incredibly proud that we punch above our weight when it comes to sport in Wigan, and it's an economic asset to us, but it's also a huge sort of central feature of the town. The chair of my supporters club, she used to go with her dad. They had a season ticket when she was a child. She now takes her children. This is part of our inheritance, our civic inheritance that you pass down through generations, and you treasure it and you take care of it and you know how to value it. And a few years ago, we went into shock administration. It was a well-run club, no significant debts. We were sold to a guy in Hong Kong who transferred the ownership to somebody else, we think to hide a gambling debt, although it's never been proven. And this new owner then put us straight into administration. And we were at risk of losing the lot. And that journey that we went on over the next 9 months to save the club, I mean, it took me into some of the darkest places I've ever been. I thought politics was murky, but my goodness, the world of football is quite something else. And what I learned through going through that experience is that too often the systems that were set up to protect and support us were either indifferent or on the wrong side. So, the football governance system had approved these owners. Football is too often something that is the preserve of the rich as playthings in parts of the world and the country that they've never even visited. And the fans, the wrong people held all the power. The fans were treated as a nuisance at worst and an afterthought at best. And we won in the end. We had the help of some people in quite powerful places who did us no end of favours and worked around the system or against the system in order to support us. And we found a decent buyer in the end, and we're able to sort of increase the power of fans. But part of how we did it was to fundraise, and we, in a town where wages are significantly below the national average, we managed to raise a significant amount of money in a very short amount of time. I'll never forget the man who walked into the stadium with just 60 quid in his pocket and said, "It's my life savings, but I need you to have it." This is how much it mattered to people. But it isn't a story about how local is good and national is bad, because if anything, what it taught me is this sort of railing against Westminster sort of profoundly misses the point. The problem isn't that Westminster exists. The problem is that what Westminster is doing is trying to micromanage millions of decisions over issues that should be in the gift of ordinary, extraordinary people like the campaigners who came together to save our club, rather than doing its actual job, which is to go off and work with other like-minded countries to strengthen the system of football governance and strengthen anti-corruption measures and take global action with other democracies. And so it changed my view, and it came very much in the wake of Brexit, which I'm sure, with it being you guys, you'll want to talk about. But it really was, for me, in a town that voted in quite significant numbers to leave, it really was a lesson in what I think really drove Brexit, which was the desire for far more local control, but also the desire for the UK government to start playing a role in shaping the world beyond our shores so that it works for working class people here in the UK. And so, lots of political commentators read the Brexit vote as a stop the world, I want to get off. I never felt that in Wigan at all. And over the last 4 years, doing on Labour's front bench as the Shadow Foreign Secretary and then as the Shadow Secretary for Levelling Up and now as the Shadow Secretary for International Development, it's been an absolute privilege actually to have been able to get, my hands on those levers to be able to shape our response to that. Far more local control, power in the right hands, tilting the balance of power back to people with a stake in the outcome and skin in the game here in the UK, and then going off and leading the charge for world leadership to work with other countries in order to build a much fairer global system that actually delivers for people here in the UK as well as some of the poorest people in the world.